Hello, Casey Wilson, owner of Roseville Strength and Conditioning in beautiful Roseville, California, and one of your co-hosts of the Do or Do Not podcast. And this is
Bradford Neil Erie, sitting behind two big black balls. Just had to get that out of the way early because you knew it was coming.
Yep, Brad can't help himself.
When you put two big balls in front of me.
Okay. Let's
get it.
Let's get off the ball.
Okay, stuff. I got a couple more. I'll just sprinkle them in later, just to let you know.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
That's called foreshadowing, kids. There'll be some ball talk.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk a little Hyrox. I got done with my race last weekend and go over the experience and what it was like. We're going to talk a little American Primeval.
Finally.
So I binge watched that on Sunday when I was recuperating from my race.
No bad monkey though.
No, because I canceled Apple TV because there's nothing on there else I wanted to watch. So eventually I'll go back to it.
Fine.
So, but so I did the Hyrox this last weekend. I did mixed doubles. So first Hyrox I'd done a DecaFit race 2 years ago, and I'm doing another one in May. I'm redoing it in May and hopefully beat my past time by 10, 12 minutes. So Hyrox weekend was great. So I got there. The only sucky thing was I got there. So Friday I flew in. I got to my hotel. Then I went over to the convention center where the elites were going to race.
This is in Las Vegas, by the way.
This is in Las Vegas, yeah. So I flew in, got there, went to pre-registration. The pre-registration took an hour and 25 minutes to get through the line. So I missed most of the women's Elite 15 race. I got in, I think, when they were on lunges or they're on their run right after lunges, and then they came to wall ball. So I missed almost all the Elite women racing, which was a bummer. But I got to see the men's race, and I stayed until close to the end of that. You can even see me on the live stream. I'm right up in the front row, like when they turn the corner and come into
exhilarating.
The thing. I was like, oh, there I am.
It's the first thing I want to do in Vegas.
Yeah,
watch sweaty guys.
Yeah, no, it was cool to watch the best in the world, and you're watching what they're doing at it. And so it was good, and I had a lot of fun going and checking that out. And there's all kinds of people, fitness people there and stuff. So then I go back to the hotel. Next day, get up, stretch out, mosey around, then I head over to the event center. My partner and her husband were there, so we talked for a while and watched some people compete and stuff, and men's doubles you could see doing, and there were some women doubles going. And then we warmed up, got ready. It was cool because we went over to the warm-up area, and I just walked in. And I went over to the skier because I'd stretched out and everything, but I hadn't really warmed my upper body up. So I wanted to do 100 meters or so on the skier just to get some blood flowing in my shoulders. Got in line behind two people. There was a woman on, and she was pretty jacked. I was like, oh, she's built. And didn't really pay attention. And I figured her partner was right behind her waiting to get on. And it was Ellie Turner, who's a CrossFit athlete. She's competed in the CrossFit Games. Yeah. And then her boyfriend is Justin Medeiros, the two-time world fittest man. Yeah. And I get in a zone whenever when I'm about ready to suffer in a workout. Yeah. I get in a zone where I kind of block everything out. And so I was just like, oh, crap. Like she got off and I went, oh, that's Ellie Turner. And then I go, oh, the guy with the mullet in front of me must be Justin Medeiros, and it was. And so that was kind of cool. And then like there was the current world's fittest man, James Sprague, competed. Yeah. I saw him briefly like walking around. Matt Frazier, the 5-time world's fittest man, was there. The Buttery Bros were there, which have a podcast, or not a podcast, but like a fitness show where they go around and do a lot of CrossFit stuff. They've been to multiple Hyroxes, Spartan races,
the who's who
marathons,
of, fitness and six packs.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, and there was a lot of really fit people there. It was fun to go out and race. We did pretty well. It was brutal.
I have two quick questions.
Yeah.
One,
I haven't even finished the explanation of the day.
How many six packs do you think total? Okay, of just you got a six pack, so there's 6 there. I'm sure there are a lot of women. Are you talking like over 1,000 abs? probably on display more.
And most of the dudes had their shirts off.
Yeah, well, I mean,
but there was also dudes with their shirts off that had plenty of fat hanging off their rolls too. And there was a lot of women that had six packs too. So I mean, it's just when you're fit, and there's a lot of you saw a lot of shirts. There was a lot of CrossFit shirts.
Yeah,
there was a lot of F45 shirts. Even a few Orange Theory, which is amazing that Orange Theory actually has shirts. I'm not a huge fan of Orange Theory, but
and how many girls there would give you a good straight fight? Like you're like, I don't know, 50-50 fights.
Fighting's different.
Because I mean, some of them girls I saw were
I know tough girls that are not ripped at all, but jacked. You know what? If you were to show me a guy who was really lean and ripped and had cauliflower ears, or you showed me a big jacked dude,
that's true.
I want the big jacked dude because they gas out quick. If you've ever, I'm not going to sit and go into getting into fist fights and wrestling, but all you got to do is give them 30 seconds. Just like you saw a lot of big jack guys out there on the floor.
Yeah.
I'm cramping, because they don't train. There's not a lot of cross training in there.
Yeah.
Meaning they don't. They go out and think because they're lean and they lift a lot of weights that they can go out and run.
That's
a race
true.
Like that.
The cauliflower is a good point. If you see someone with cauliflower ear, that's like a neon.
So I don't have.
Says,
I wrestled for 6 years. I do not have cauliflower ears. And I did jiu-jitsu and stuff for a couple of years. I've done a lot of ground fighting. I'm very comfortable on the ground, but I'm going to look for a big jack dude to get in fight with because the gas, all you have to do is avoid a little tiny bit, and I'm pretty strong. Yeah. And I can take a punch, but all you have to do is wait for a second and they gas out, and then you can just do whatever you want to. I mean, you can just pound on them, choke them out, arm bar them, whatever you want to do. They don't have anything after 15 or 20 seconds. They're like going, trust me, I've experienced it.
It takes a lot of energy to move that much muscle.
Yeah, it does, and your lactic acid builds up quick. And so being a leaner, fitter athlete now, like when I was younger, I was up in the 230 range and I was pretty jacked.
Are you going to go back to that now that's over?
I'll never go back to that because I had to work out 6 days a week, 2 hours, 3 hours a day, and just lift heavy and eat ridiculous amounts of food to get that big. I could get that big easier probably now because it's easier for me to put fat on too. Yeah. But I don't want to. I'm real happy. Like I'm going to try to stay below 210.
Okay. Well, that's a change because normally you get this low, you kind of go back up to like 225.
No, I usually go back up to 215, 218. I haven't been at 225 in quite a while. So like in November when I started training for this Hyrox, I was 214.8. Yeah. So almost 215. And then I've gotten down as low as 200. I would guess I haven't stepped on the scale I didn't eat badly over the weekend. I went out to dinner and had salmon and mashed potatoes and broccolini for my meal after the race. I did eat a decent amount of sugar.
I would hope.
Yeah, so I had some king-size candy bars after the race. And before the race, I had some Sour Patch Kids. But besides that, I haven't eaten horrible. But the last few days, I have indulged in some peppermint bark Haagen-Dazs ice cream because it's still on the shelves. Yeah. But I've eaten pretty healthy. More just I want to stay on track with my weight and not get above 205.
Kind of feels good at this way, right?
I feel good. Like I've done what is today? Yeah, yesterday. Monday, I took an extra day off just to recover. Or was it? No, yesterday I actually did not work out. Monday, I actually just did an upper body workout. It was the first time I lifted heavy. But heavy was not nearly as heavy as I was lifting back in November. So I did lift heavy. My upper body's really sore today, a little bit. But when I'm flexing, I'm already going, oh, now I'm more puffy now. I'm starting to see more muscle, or water and stuff. So, but when I started training for that race, I dropped like 14 pounds at one point for it. Now I'm probably back up. I would guess I'm 204, 205 right now. Just because I haven't eaten and I haven't been running. Fatty. I haven't ran since that race. But we'll see how things go. But this month, I'm not worried as much about cardiovascular training. Yeah. Because I've done so much of it. I'm going to lift more. I will do a little bit of running to keep it up. But then early March, I will have 2 months to train for the DecaFit, and I want to do well at the DecaFit. Yeah. Because you got to run at a little faster pace on the DecaFit than the Hyrox if you want to have a good time. It's shorter distance of running, and they're very well measured out. I don't think Hyrox was very well measured out. So it was literally even being generous, about 1.25 miles longer than what we had measured out on our training runs, which we had a 0.62 mile run. I had it all measured out here.
Yeah.
Did all the exercises, and we were at like 5.85 or 5.9 miles each time. So I'm like going so I expected a very similar thing. And apparently not just me came up with well over 7 miles of what the race was.
That makes a difference.
And so Sarah and I were much happier. Like we actually sent me a message going of like people like a social media post where a guy was like, I had 7.8 miles on total for the race. What the hell?
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been that long. And then there was other social media posts when I looked them up, and a lot of people were complaining their Garmin and their, like my Apple Watch had us well over 7 miles. Now we did run on the outside because we weren't running as fast. We were trying to stay out to the outside quite a bit to let the people that were gung-ho, a lot of them we eventually passed later on because they gassed themselves out. But with that being said, we stayed at a steady pace on the outside. The race went well as far as it was brutal and suffering. You knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
The things that we couldn't prepare for were, I years ago, I got rid of my sled with, skids on it, and I have a tank instead. And so we had the proper amount of weight on the tank, I think. But when you get friction with a weighted sled like that, and you don't have wheels, no wheels. So we knew there was going to be some variance, but Sarah could barely move it. So I ended up doing almost the whole sled. I did 95%, or if not 97% of the sled push, and then probably 75% of the sled pull.
I had to burn out your legs.
And so that really tapped me out early in the race. My legs were swollen up. Like we got done pushing the sled, and she started to jog, and I go, no. I need to walk down the straightaway before we get back to the track. I go, my heart rate was through the roof, and my legs were swollen. It's fine. I can, like any of these exercises are not hard by themselves.
Yeah.
You get done and you go, whew, that was, like a quick painful jolt, but it's not hard. But then when you go and you run, you don't get a lot of recovery, and then you do another one, then you do a run.
Totally builds up.
It's the build up. That's real fitness and endurance when you're building up like that. And the running is obviously the most dominant thing in it. And there's not like weight training. There's not like clean and jerks or anything like that, or squat cleans or anything like that. It's just functional fitness exercises, things that you do. You like stuff like you throw wall ball. You do wall balls, which is a squat and a throw, and you do all these things. So when we're doing the race, we have splits we have in our mind. We've already practiced those splits, and we've talked about what we're going to do. And so the skier went fine. We both did 500 meters. We had a good pace coming out. And then the sled really took me out for quite a while. I would say even at the end of that run after the sled push, my legs
how many pounds was that sled?
353.
Yeah, so you can't skip the details. So you're trying to push a 350-pound sled with no wheels. How far?
50 meters. So because Sarah tried to push it to start, and couldn't even budge it.
Come on, Sarah.
And then I pushed it up, and then she tried again, and she got it maybe 5 feet. And it was, hey, look, when you're doing mixed doubles, the female's probably not going to be as strong as you are. And so we were planning on, I would probably end up doing a little bit more of the sled, but we didn't know that she wouldn't be able to move that sled hardly at all. And it's good because you learn things when you do these races that you're deficient in. You're going, oh, I thought I was way better at this, and so you learn those things. And so the sled pulls, she helped more on the sled pulls, but I still probably did 75%, maybe 80% of the sled pulls because the sled was just rough for her. But everything else she killed. I mean, everything else she did well. Pacing, of running, it was just tough. It was a tough race, but it wasn't like undoable. It took us longer than we thought. But then when we found out we ran so much extra, we were like, well, we would have had the time that we thought we were going to get if we didn't run all that extra distance. So I don't know. I haven't really looked into it later. I just saw a bunch of social media posts and stuff about Hyrox, how everybody was complaining that it was longer and that it wasn't properly measured out or whatever. I don't know if it was or wasn't, but I can tell you my number was well over 7 miles, and I was expecting just under 6 miles.
Yeah. So in a race like this, that extra mile or even extra half mile can really make a difference.
Oh, well, you're talking 10 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, but when your legs are shot at the end, you're talking You're talking
Extra
we're running about
grueling.
we're talking running about a 10-minute mile at the fastest when your legs are shot like that, and I definitely would. It was interesting in the group we went out with at 1:30 in the afternoon. I was definitely the oldest guy in the group. It was all mixed doubles.
Yeah.
But I'm looking around, I go, that guy might be in his 40s, early 40s.
Yeah.
There's an Asian guy, and sometimes with Asian guys you can't really tell, but he looked like he had a little age on him. But everybody else looked like 20s, 30s.
I know how that went.
So I'm sitting there going, I look at Sarah and I go, I'm the oldest dude in here.
Yeah.
She looked around. She goes, I don't. Oh, yeah, I think you are.
That was when Matt and I were doing the super. We were looking around and like, we're the only people with gray hair. Like, we're the oldest people here.
Yeah. There's a lot of times when I'm doing those races, I go, okay, I'm old. Now, the DecaFit, there was quite a few people there that were gray haired, a lot of like skinny runners.
Okay.
When I did DecaFit a couple of years ago, there were more gray hairs there than there were at the Hyrox. There were a few, but there wasn't a lot of old people. Hyrox is just way harder than DecaFit.
Oh, yeah.
If it was the actual 5 miles, that's 2 miles further than you're doing in DecaFit.
Yeah.
2 less exercises, but the exercises are way harder in Hyrox.
Yeah.
It's like you're doing 1,000-meter row, not a 500-meter row. You're doing 1,000 meters on a skier, not 500. Yeah. So they're both different. For instance, I should be able to do the DecaFit. My goal is to do it in 43, 44 minutes.
Yeah.
This time, if not faster, because I'm in good shape right now. As long as I maintain my fitness and get an even a little better sprinting shape or like a fast run shape, I think I should be able to do it maybe even 40 minutes. If I'm really hauling ass. But you just never know. That day of, you get out there and you start going, and sometimes you feel like great, and some days you don't. So we'll see. But it's fun. It's challenging. I think there was less older people at the Hyrox race just because it is much more challenging than like DecaFit. DecaFit, there was quite a few people.
I watched a lot of highlights of it online, and it looked hard.
It's hard.
What would you consider the hardest race you've done? Is this harder than like the Beast in Tahoe?
No.
Like
the Beast in Tahoe, I did 16.8 miles, and there was 4,200 feet in elevation gain.
So like, is that harder?
And you're at seven to. You start off at 7,000 feet, and then you're up at 8,300 feet. So there's that aspect. That's the hardest race I ever did that day.
Okay.
And there's the elements too. It was 36 degrees when I took out running.
Yeah.
Winds were 50 to 60 mile an hour.
Tahoe Beast won.
It snowed, it rained, it hailed, it lightning and thundered. That's the hardest race I ever did.
All right, so that's 1. Is this 2? Is this rank 2 on your top hardest?
No, every Beast I did was harder, but they're way longer.
Yeah.
Like you're in mountainous
it just depends
terrain.
on what you find hard.
But
some people like running.
After you get past the Beast, I would have to say the first super I ever did in San Jose was the 4th hardest race I ever did. You know what? To be honest, it may move up into 3 over this Los Olivos race. It was brutal because I had done 2. So we did that. I had done a sprint, and then we do the San Jose. And what I didn't know is I was really ready to run 6 miles, but we get to. I'm thinking where it's located, or where is it? Where is it? It's outside of Patterson, Diablo Grande. Yeah. So anyway, there's a hill going up that is like literally you're sitting there and you see like little ants up on it. Like you have to go all the way up. That's almost at the start of the race. You do a little tiny run and then you start this hill. By the time I got to the top of the hill, my legs were blown. They were shot. And Justin, at halfway up the hill, he was like beating my ass, like going up the hill. And I was like, oh, good for you with your knees hurting and everything. But then after that, I didn't see Justin again. I kept running and going. But that race, it was almost 8 miles.
Yeah.
But you gained 3,800 feet in 8 miles. My leg, actually, that will be the 3rd hardest race I ever did because my legs seized up. I had to stop 5 times and massage my legs out trying to finish the race because they seized, not just cramped. Yeah, like the whole thing knots up. It locks up. I had my calves lock up. First my right calf, then my left calf, and I stopped and then all of a sudden I started my quad muscle seize up.
Yeah.
But I finished the race, and it was brutal. I actually said a prayer. First time I said a prayer on the course. I mean, God, Lord, I was sitting up there massaging my leg for the 5th time.
Let me finish
And I
and not
said,
die on this hill.
please help me finish this race. I've come almost to the end. I'm at 6 miles, about the 8-mile course, right? And I start going up, and I never seized up again. So he answered prayers right there. And so I finished that race. That would be the 3rd hardest race. Then Los Olivos was 4th, and then Hyrox was 5th.
Okay.
You know, Hyrox was really brutal, but it wasn't like brutal like you couldn't do it. It just took longer than we had planned, but also the race was longer than we planned. Yeah. We expected 5.8 to 5.9 miles with all the obstacles. Some of the obstacles seem to be a little longer than what I have measured out in here.
Yeah.
Too.
They didn't look like it was.
I'm going, this seems longer than going up and back 5 times in the gym, but you don't know if it's because I haven't measured out, like 5 times for 100 meters in here.
Yeah.
And so I know that that's an accurate measurement, but maybe it just looks different because they have a longer stretch.
Yeah.
They have 2 long stretches instead of 5 back and forth shorter stretches. I'll tell you what, though, I questioned some of their measurements.
And Sarah, though, looked like you guys rocked it. I was looking at Sarah's stories on Instagram, and you guys were both.
We finished.
Go it.
I will shout out Jeremy too. He was filming those videos, and he held my phone and shirt for me in the backpack.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to check those things in. And he's really, he was there, and you could tell like when he was there filming, it helped Sarah bump up a little bit.
Yeah.
So he was great, and it was a lot of fun. I probably won't ever do it again. I'm just getting to a point in my life where like
we're getting old.
I'll be 52 soon, and these things take a lot out of you, and the training takes a lot out of you. I like to be in good shape. I don't necessarily need to be going out and doing a Hyrox shape all the time, though. You know what I mean? At my age, it hurts. Like I've had some foot issues the whole time I was training, a hip issue the whole time I was training.
So in like 10 years, when we're doing this podcast, you'll be like, "Oh, we did the sprint. That's all we could do. We're probably 62."
I'm not doing any more Spartan races, but like DecaFit, I'm really excited about doing. And if Hyrox eventually comes to Sacramento, I'll never fly and travel to do it again. Yeah. But if it comes to Sacramento, I would consider doing it. Yeah. And Sarah did great. And I think she probably wants to do more, but I'm not doing anymore. But
she better get her husband involved.
Yeah, and Jeremy can do it. He's he doesn't like to do it, but that's why I'm doing it with it, because he doesn't like to do it.
Bye.
So, but that whole process started in the summer. So like where the race came out, so we signed up for it and we knew what we had to do. And then probably November is when the training really ramped up.
Yeah, you've been talking about this for a long time. So
yeah,
I'm very proud of you.
I had to run a lot. I don't like to run, so I had to run a lot. And so that was the fun part of it, is I'm in pretty good running shape right now.
Yeah.
I can go out and run at a pretty steady pace for 5 to 7 miles.
Yeah.
If I didn't have to do exercises, I could probably go out and run 10 miles at a steady pace if I had to. But I don't like to, and it's not my favorite thing. So I'm back to lifting weights, and then I'm going to start running in about 3 weeks. I'll probably start running. I'll do a run this week, but only like a really short run. Yeah. Just more of a fast sprint to see how fast it takes me to do 0.31 miles, which is what the DecaFit is, and see where I'm at. But yeah, it was a good experience. I got to be around a bunch of people that are fit. Everybody was very nice. There wasn't a lot of dicks there. So there's a lot of people that you could tell are very into themselves, very narcissistic.
That'd have been me. I'd have been shirtless with my little floppy belly, like, out of the way.
There were some people like interesting running strides.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
there's this girl that like ran on her tippy toes and she couldn't bounce, but she had a good pace. So I mean, it was just like funny watching people. I'm like, ooh, that person's gonna have some problems later on the way they run and stuff. They're hurting themselves.
My favorite watching the highlights, and watching all these people post their stories, is like some of these dudes, and you've talked about it, are massive. They look like bodybuilders.
They are bodybuilders.
And like watching them trying to run, like they look like they've never run cardio in their entire life.
They haven't.
And I saw this one, like this big white guy who was just broader than both of us. And the guy looked like he could lift a truck. But his thighs were so big that he was like waddling, trying to run down this thing. And I'm like, what are you doing? Your poor body's like, I got to haul this 300-pound muscle. Yep. And I'm like, yeah. So when he talked about, Yeah, tiring out. Yeah.
I think
I saw some of those in the background, and I'd laugh.
I think that this is. I think these type of Hyrox races, CrossFit to a certain extent, but a lot of CrossFit, they have a certain. You can get pretty jacked doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
But these Hyrox races, Spartan races, it shows that real fitness is not bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I've told people forever, bodybuilding I completely respect.
Yeah.
It is brutal, tough. You have to be super disciplined with your eating. You have to do these slow, methodical workouts and lift a lot of weight. And it's awesome if that's what you want to do, but it's not fitness. You're not fit.
And they will tell you that.
Bodybuilders. So when I managed the 24-hour fitness in Roseville, there was a lot of bodybuilders in there. Some of them were on my staff. Yeah. When they start cutting down for a bodybuilding contest, meaning they're about 3 months out.
Yeah.
And so they start eating cleaner and then they start doing cardio. You know what cardio they do? They sit on a recumbent bike and do this like a senior citizen. And they'll sit on there for a half hour and just go like this. And that's their cardio. Or they'll walk on a treadmill at like
just
2
walk.
miles an hour. Just walk. No incline, just walking slow. And when they get done there, whew, that was hard. It's not fitness. So these races are highlighting what real fitness is, meaning you should have muscle on your body.
Yep.
But you don't have to be carrying slabs of muscle. That is not a fit person. There are very few really fit people that have massive amounts of muscle. If you look at the Hyrox male athletes, I saw them up close. There was 3 of them that could probably bench 225 pounds.
Yeah.
And the other 15, none of them could probably bench 225
I'm sure.
pounds. And so Hunter McIntyre is the most built guy out there. He's a 3-time world champion, I think. He has the world record speed that's ever been done in like 53, just over 53 minutes. And he did it in 56 this time and came in second place. But the guy who won is about my height, maybe an inch shorter, maybe 6'1", 6'1 and a half. I'm 6'2 and a half. And he is lean and ripped and hardly any body fat. And he's the weirdest looking guy because he's tall and skinny, and he does DecaFit too. He was the DecaFit 2024 world champion.
Yeah.
But he has really broad shoulders. So if he wanted to stop running so much and lift weights, he could probably get pretty.
He could probably,
built.
He got a lot of
He's
room.
young. His metabolism might be a little fast right now for it. Like I really couldn't put any muscle on until I was 24. I mean, like Brad and I are both tall and long, and I have long arms and muscle bellies, and it's hard for me to put lots of muscle on unless I put years of hard work of lifting weights to finally get muscle on. And it's not as hard anymore because I'm older. My body will put muscle on, but it'll put fat on too.
Yeah.
So
I'm really good at putting fat on.
Yeah.
I've mastered that.
Yeah. So I think these races really highlight what real fitness is, meaning the big, huge muscular guys are not going to last in a race like that. The first lap, they're going to look great. When they go and push that sled, they're going to look amazing.
Yeah.
And then they're going to crash and they're not going to recover because that lactic acid buildup and carrying that much muscle, you're just not going to recover. And that's why CrossFit became so popular, because you do a combo. They don't do long runs, but they do some running. They'll do a Murph. They'll do, like in the CrossFit Games, I think they've run a 5K 3 times or 2 or 3 times in the CrossFit Games. And they'll do these runs. Now, are they super long? They're not 5 miles.
No.
And very rarely have they been 3 miles. But like, I know a lot of people CrossFit. I've done some CrossFit classes and stuff, and I like their methodology and I like a lot about it. I don't like the extremes and the PRs and those things because they lead to a lot of injuries that happen. But that's that mindset and it's a very competitive fitness field. But it kind of showed what the difference between bodybuilders and fit athletes that still have muscle on their body. Now the Hyrox is showing, if you're really fit and you want to do a Hyrox, there's these sled pushes, there's wall balls, there's all these things you do, and you go, well, it's not really heavy, but it is a fitness aspect. And big muscular guys are not going to do very good at Hyrox. It's going to be the leaner guys that have a little bit of muscle and strength that can do all the exercises, but also run at a fast pace. So it would have been really good for me in my 20s. If I was in my 20s, especially my early 20s, I would have been able to ball out at Hyrox and DecaFit and those things. And unfortunately, I'm a little older, and it doesn't mean I make excuses, but I just can't keep up with 20-year-olds anymore. That's just one of the things that happens.
That's life.
It's like I can't run that fast anymore. Like
Oh.
I can go out and run at a decent pace, and I can outrun your average person quite easily. They're going to gas out if they're not training or not doing anything. I can outrun a lot of 20 and 30-year-olds because they're fat and out of shape. But
Especially
if you
today.
take a fit, healthy person who works out in their 20s and works out really hard, as hard as I do, they're going to be better than me. That's just the bottom line. You have to accept that at a point. And at a certain point, I'm going, I don't know how much longer I'm going to do these fitness competitions because I like being in good shape, but I don't need to be in that type of shape, to be fit.
No, that's crazy.
So I enjoy it. It's fun, but I probably won't do another one unless they come to Sacramento in the next couple of years. Then it's possible I may do one more.
You know what I would love to see? I would love to see a competition of like those people that you mentioned, like the real high performance world champs, like these really good athletes against like professional athletes. Just to see, like you take who's the running back from the Giants or went to the Eagles? Was it Barkley?
Yeah, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, like put him in Hyrox. Like this guy has calf muscles the size of my chest, and he's used to running. He could run and sprint, all the time, and he's built. He
probably would. He could if he trained
like these
properly
people.
For it. They don't run distance like he can run he's a beast. He's a superior athlete. If he wanted to, he could train. There are not a lot of short elite guys though. So he's going to have to. So here's the problem when you're jacked, when you're small and jacked like he is, and he has great genetics, great athletic ability. He's a freak.
Yeah.
But he's not an endurance athlete.
No, but
when you get into the 5 mile range, he would have to train really hard for those things because you think that guy could. I've watched. So you know who Tyler Bajan is?
Yeah.
Who is he?
He is. Though I've heard of him so often that I said it. Isn't he a workout guy that I saw through Goggins? Or am I wrong?
No.
Then I don't know.
Tyler Bajan is the backup quarterback for the Chicago Bears.
All right, then I don't know.
He's started in some games. His dad was a world champion arm wrestler, and he's a CrossFitter.
Yeah.
And I've watched multiple interviews on the Sevon podcast and with Hiller on the Hiller podcast. There were 2 podcasts I like that are CrossFit oriented people. And they're like, so are you the fittest person on your team? And he goes, by far. He goes, these guys could not keep up in workouts with me. Yeah. He's the quarterback. Now he's 6 foot something. He's maybe 6'3", 6'4", something like that. And he is built. But you look at all the more muscular, you look at him, you go, oh, that guy's in way better shape than him. It's like, no, they can't do my workouts.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The whole cardio point. I just
and it's the stuff. There's a different mindset. So the backup quarterback of the Chicago Bears is the fittest person on the team. Is he the best athlete on the team? No, but he is the fittest person. None of them can keep up with.
I would just love to see the dynamics because you take someone like LeBron James, who constant motion probably is not as strong as whatever.
Oh, he's an abnormal. He is super strong.
You take someone.
I'll tell you this: he cannot compete against a 20-year-old or the guy who won the race who's skinny and ripped and tall.
I would just love to see. He would
finish it in half the time that LeBron James would finish it in because LeBron can't keep that pace. LeBron would do really good in the first half of the race, and then he would disappear in the second half.
Really, I don't know. LeBron watching
it's a different training. Game, it's not about athletics. He is a superior athlete. He can run that court up and down quick, but there is when you do these exercises and the exercises are split up.
Oh, I know.
That's interesting. Like the CrossFit athletes, they do pretty good. Like James, this is what I heard. At least this is what I read. I didn't watch the race, and I never even saw the results to it. But apparently, he qualified in his age group for the World Championships.
Yeah.
Which means he could be in possible Elite 15. He's the current CrossFit world's fittest man, right?
Yeah.
But he's also in CrossFit. He's not a powerhouse. Yeah. Like in the Olympic lifts and those things, and deadlifts, bench, clean. He's not going to beat certain people, but he's very well rounded, and he's also can run.
Yeah,
and he did really well at Hyrox. If he wanted to, he could leave CrossFit, probably go to Hyrox and be a top 15 athlete, if not maybe eventually be a world champion if he wanted to. But he's currently the world champion in CrossFit. And I know a lot of people say it was a weird games and the guy died and half the athletes quit. And he's not the real fittest man in the world. He's the real fittest man.
Stop it.
He just won a competition. He was won Wadapalooza. Like I watch all that stuff. Am I a CrossFitter? No, but I respect and I do a lot of CrossFit style workouts. I always have. Before CrossFit was CrossFit, there was strength and conditioning, and there was a lot of those things. You do a lot of combo workouts, and I've always believed, even when I was really into bodybuilding, I was lifting heavy weights trying to get big and yoked, I would run a mile or two every week to keep my cardiovascular fitness up. So I believe in the methodology and what Greg Glassman the science behind it and stuff. I'm a big fan. The only thing I don't like is a lot of injuries happen, and a lot of people that go in to do CrossFit. It's gotten better, I think, over the years. But so I qualify that I like CrossFit, but doing PRs all the time and trying to push yourself to your limits leads to injuries. It just does. There's no doubt about it. So it also will put you to the highest level you can possibly get to. But usually when you go to that level, injuries and problems happen going through it. So Sprigg could easily transition, but there's guys in CrossFit that could not easily transition and be good because he's built like if he stopped lifting weights and stopped trying to do all the Olympic lifts and get bigger and stronger, which he's a young guy too. Yeah, he could easily be a Hyrox athlete. But he doesn't want to. But I'm just saying he could if he wanted to.
I have two questions for you, real quick.
Yeah.
All right. First question: if you could take any athlete from any sport, they have to be a professional athlete from any sport, and get, let's say, 6 to 8 months, and say you have to take this athlete to win hydrox. All right. Take them from any sport, lacrosse, rugby, hockey.
Are you saying what type of sport would transition?
Just whatever.
Probably a soccer player.
All right. And say, all right, in 6 to 8 months, you have to make this guy dominate hydrox. Could you do it?
I would look at a bigger, stronger soccer player.
Okay.
Because soccer players have to run all the time.
All right.
Or I would take an Olympic level distance runner and have them start lifting weights.
You wouldn't do it like a Samoan rugby player?
No.
Okay.
No, because size is not important in Hyrox. Right. I am 6'2" and a half.
Can't forget that half.
You can't forget that. I always say I'm 6'2", but I really am not. I'm actually like, I meet people and they go, "Oh, I'm 6'2", and I'm like, "No, you're not."
Yeah.
You're an inch shorter than me, and I'm 6'2" and a half. So I was recently measured like at the doctor's office. Yeah. They're like, "Oh, you're 6'2" and a half," and I was like, "Oh, good." I just say I'm 6'2", but I hadn't been measured at 6'2" and a half in a long time. I am 205 pounds maybe right now, maybe 203, maybe 204. I don't know. And recently I've been down to 200. I am not a big bulky guy. Do I have a muscle on my body? Yes. But I am not jacked. I am not big. But in the race, when I'm standing there, very few of the people in the race were taller than me or longer than me.
All right, so good.
But these are the regular. These are the regular guys that are in there, not the elites. If you look at all the elites, I'm taller or as tall as most of the elite guys.
Okay.
Like Hunter McIntyre's probably 6'5", 10 to 6 foot. I don't know. And then there's a guy named Weinisch from Germany or one of those countries, and he's maybe 5'6", 5'7", and is scrawny.
Yeah.
Then there was a couple guys that were like really close to me, and they were pushing, and they had some muscle on them, and they were 6 footish tall. So a lot of them are like skinny 6 footish, and they're around 185 to 190.
Okay, so that does make sense for you. All
Some of them are 160, 165. So if you take a soccer player, a professional soccer player, and not like the short, really fast guys, but a guy who's fast, has great endurance, and has a little bit of muscle on him. And I don't know soccer at all, so I don't know who to pick out or whatever.
But there's plenty
like a Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah,
when he was younger.
Yeah,
he could probably easily go and do it because the running is the big part of it. It's not about the muscle. It's not about the size. It's about how well your lactic acid cleansing goes when you get done doing that sled push. How fast does that disappear from your body? When you go out and run, are you going to be able to run at a good pace after you push that sled? Are you going to be able to run at a good pace after your heart rate gets up from doing burpee broad jumps? Okay. How are you recovering from it? And it all is about the run. It's all about those 5 miles. Those exercises are just to make it harder to do those 5 miles.
Then let me flip it. If you had to take any world champion, Hyrox or Spartan or whatever, all the guys that you mentioned, and say you got to train them to be a professional athlete in any of the major sports, could you do it? Could you take any one of these people and say, all right, we got to get you on an NBA team, NFL, soccer, anything. You're already dealing with like alpha 0.01 male athletes. Could you get them to be in the twitchy world of sports?
Hunter McIntyre could definitely do that because he is
get in one of those sports.
Well, here's the thing: athletic ability and fitness are not interchangeable necessarily.
Yeah,
these guys could be a horrible athlete. Meaning, if you put a basketball in their hand, they look like a complete clusterfuck.
Yeah,
I remember watching things, the CrossFit games, where they had to throw a ball.
Yeah,
in it. And some of these guys are big, yoked up, super fit guys, and
yeah,
your daughter could certainly outthrow.
Yeah,
and, I mean, they're like,
see, that's a good point.
It's horrible. So, like, I have some athletic ability.
Blowing my mind. Okay, good point.
I played sports growing up, and I started on my teams, but I was in a small school. If I was in a big 2,500 student school, I probably would have played baseball and been able to make the starting lineup, maybe, depending on how good that school was at baseball.
All right,
I could not have played football at those schools because I just wasn't going to be big enough or athletic enough at a lot of these bigger schools. So athletic ability doesn't, like, wrestling's a grind. I could have wrestled at any school because it's a grind. It's more of a physical fitness grinding thing. And if you're a decent athlete, I'm a decent athlete. I can throw a ball. I can catch a ball. I have good hand-eye coordination. But I wasn't like a superior. There was nothing great about me. I wasn't super fast.
Yeah.
I wasn't super twitchy. I couldn't jump super high. But I was a grinder.
Yeah.
Meaning I was always in good shape. And I could run at a decent pace. I could catch a ball when it was hit to me and throw it. Could I throw it as hard as some of the other guys? Not always. I was average at those things. I could hit the ball and I'm at a ton. I could really crush a ball.
So do you think?
But athletic ability does not translate necessarily to good fitness. So if you take all the Hyrox athletes, I would say out of the ones the 15 that I saw this weekend, and I saw them up close, Hunter McIntyre is the only one I would say would have a good shot of making like maybe a football team or a baseball team.
Okay.
I don't know about hand-eye coordination with him, but he did wrestle. I know he wrestled when he was younger and stuff. There's like freak athletes. Like if you look at the Paul brothers, Jake and Logan, they're freak athletes.
Yeah.
Logan is a professional, and he's a legit professional wrestler, and he hasn't been doing it very long, and he does crazy ass athletic shit.
Oh yeah.
You know, and Jake is a legit boxer. Is he a world champion? No.
But he's knock my ass out.
He would knock a lot of lower level boxers out.
Yeah.
Meaning
I don't hate on them.
You know, like
Ohio boys.
No, I their athletic ability is definitely there, and they both wrestled.
Yeah.
You know, so Jake's going to transition, I think, later this year into MMA and from boxing, like he's going to have his first MMA match. And Logan is one of the top superstars in the WWE right now.
Do you think you could is athletic ability more like God-given and fitness is just like grinding to get it? Because you look at like someone like Saquon Barkley and be like, well, like he is 99% athletic freak.
He was born
that you can't teach that way. Yeah. But
have you ever like been around people and everything is easy to them?
Yeah.
Like your wife.
Yeah, exactly.
Your wife is one of and then there's people
like me.
There's people that your wife was around that are better than her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Crazy. Yep.
And so there's these different levels. And that's why I say, I could. In my school, I started and I lettered in 4 sports.
Yeah.
If I went to a major school where there's a lot more competition and there's a lot more people, I would not have.
No. Okay, yeah, the whole athletic and fitness, you really helped clarify that in my head. So, I understand it now.
You know, people that are clumsy or that just can't quite get things together, they have bad, we call it proprioception, how they relate to the things around them.
That'd be me.
Yeah, so, and then some people have amazing proprioception. Yeah. You know, they never fall down, and you throw something down, those catch it, you know, and do that. And then there's the in-betweens, and there's just different levels to it. So when you get a guy like Hunter McIntyre can lift it. They invited him, but he did the CrossFit games and he didn't do super great, but he was also he's more of an endurance athlete, but he has enough muscle and explosiveness that he might be able to make a baseball or a football team. Yeah. And he can run like for a muscular guy. Yeah. He can run for a long time. Yeah. That's what makes him a great hydrox athlete. He's super strong. Yeah, and he can run at a fast pace for a long time. Because most people look at him, they'll think, you look at all the other CrossFit or the other Hyrox athletes, and you go, he looks kind of like a CrossFitter, and he's out there with these guys. Yeah, but he's just a way better runner. So yeah, I mean the crossover between these endurance, and a lot of it's up here. What do you have up here? When you go out and you start running and doing these things, and it starts burning, hurting, and your lactic acid starts building up, and you're suffering, and your heart rate's been at 160 or 155 for 20, 30 minutes, are you going to break or are you going to keep going?
You brought up a lot of good points, because I see a lot of message boards, posts, and stuff like this, and I'm just going to go flood them with your knowledge, because I think you're absolutely right. I agree with you 100% on everything.
Yeah, everybody has their own opinions, but I just think
I think you're right. I think fitness is completely different than,
and there's levels to it. There's just levels to it. There's guys that are my age that could run me under the table. There are not a lot of them.
Yeah.
But there are certain guys. When I was out at DecaFit, there was a guy who was like 54, and I think at that time I was 48.
Yeah.
And that guy could run me under the table. But I guarantee you this, he couldn't bench 135.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we would get out and we would run, and I would get and part of it was I think I wore myself out in the first part of that DecaFit race. That's why I suffered so much at the end. And so now I have a better idea of what needs to accomplish. Right now I can run a faster time than I ran that day, so I'm in better shape. But we would run on the course, and he would just like leave me behind. Yeah. And I tried to stay up with him, because I'm like, I can stay up with this old part. But he was a way, old man. But he ran he told me, he goes, I run 30 to 35 miles a week.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I've never ran 35 miles in 1 week.
That sounds like my worst nightmare.
When I was training for those beasts, I would run at 20, 22 miles in 1 week. And that was and I was just like, screw, this is horrible.
Yeah, I like running.
It was trail running, so I liked it a little bit more. I like trail running more than just running on the streets out here, but or on a treadmill. But when we got to the exercises, I would leave them behind.
Yeah,
like we did. I remember we got to you throw a 60-pound ball over a wall.
Yeah,
I came in and he was doing them, and he was struggling to get it up over, and I just started throwing it, and then by the time I got out before him, he was in there like at least 40 seconds, 30 or 40 seconds before I got in there, because he outran me so badly. But then we get out and start running, and he comes running right past me. You know what I mean? He would pass me on the runs, and I'd pass him on the exercises.
Oh, that would have been fun.
So he beat me eventually, because he just ran faster. Yeah. And he just built up too much of a lead for me to catch him.
Funny.
But I was kind of in my mind, out of the large group that you lead with maybe 15 or 20 people at a time. I was talking to him. He was telling me a little bit about, he goes, I run all the time. I go, I've been running, but I don't like to run. And we were like comparing. We were talking about weight training and that, and he wasn't very well versed in weight training. Yeah. So I was explaining stuff to him, and he was telling me how much he ran. And so I was like, I'm going to try to keep up with this guy. And then I could not keep up. He was way too fast of a runner. There's levels to things. If you do just one thing all the time, you're going to be really good at it. But what I always preach to people is you want to be balanced on everything you do.
Amen.
All right, so that's the end of this podcast. So we're talking about Hyrox, fitness,
Primeval,
crossovers. Hey,
all right,
we'll
do that. We'll do that next one.
Let me explain to you a little bit. We're trying to end this podcast, and then we'll film another podcast right after this.
Okay.
Do I need to explain this stuff?
Yeah, man.
Good Lord. So this podcast is now over, and we'll come out with another one talking about American Primeval and some other things right after.
And we might be dressed very similar.
Absolutely.
Cut!